Hi, my name's Doug Darch. I've been being cared for by the great folks at Healing Waters in Stillwater, Minnesota through the use of AccuEnergetics since January 22nd of 2019. Now, the beginning of my story is that roughly 20 years ago, I lost almost all the vision in my left eye. And it was an odd circumstance. I'll go through it real quickly. If this is the back of a human eye, and this is the optic nerve, there's a lot of room in most people. Mine is like this. So when I had in that optic nerve one tiny little blood vessel get a clot in it, a little microstroke, it swelled and there wasn't room for it to continue swelling. So where you might not even notice you had the little microstroke, it swelled and swelled and swelled and compressed, and it killed 80% of my optic nerve. So since that time, for nearly 20 years, my eye was gray and white, no crisp black vision, no color, swirly, indistinct, couldn't really tell you which side of my hand I was looking at. The world was sort of like Frodo wearing the ring. Wispy, ethereal, very strange. And from time to time, I'd peek through that eye with the good one closed and kind of shake my head and go, gosh, I hope it doesn't happen to the other eye. Night vision, horrible. Looking out the window of a car when somebody else is driving with that right eye closed, just a muddled mess. Never going to happen. Impossible that I could ever drive with that eye. So, July 7th of 2019, I started to have the same process, losing vision in my right eye. Within a week, it was worse than the left eye had ever been, and I was, for all functional purposes in life, blind. I could not drive. I couldn't see a crack in a sidewalk or a 2-foot tall wall, let alone steps and stairs and curbs. I was relegated to a white cane, moving very slowly, and my life became a very small space. I have to add at this point that I have nothing but incredible respect for people who have much worse problems than I've ever dealt with. Blindness from birth, complete utter blindness at some point later in life that cannot be improved in any way, or even folks where it's roughly as bad as mine was, but again, no option to make it better. I was guided to Healing Waters, to AccuEnergetics, to be under the care of Denise and Susan with the help of Lisa. And I didn't really have an option to be skeptical. I was very open-minded, figuring I have absolutely nothing to lose. There's nowhere to go but up. To clarify how bad it really was at that point, I could not read more than a single letter at a time, and that took many seconds. And that's the way it had been for years. If a letter was here, I would have to look up here and catch it peripherally and move my eye around. So it was very, very frustrating. So I started going to AccuEnergetics, and at that time I could not see them. I couldn't tell what they looked like at all. Height, size, shape, weight, glasses, what kind of hair? No hair. Couldn't tell a thing. Within not very long, a couple of weeks, my acuity started to improve. One particular day, instead of having to look up here to see the one letter, now I could look at the letter and see several letters at a time. And that has continued better and better and better to this day. There were some real watershed moments along the way. I was out and about town. My wife had dropped me off and went to grab lunch and sat down at the bar to have a burger, and I would make phone calls and read very giant things on my Kindle and talk to folks and walk about town with my white cane. And on this particular day, I picked up my phone, an Android that I had at the time, and on an Android phone, the little button that looks like the shape of a speaker that you hit to turn on the speakerphone would go to a normally sighted person from white to bright green. In my case, it went from white to a slightly different shade of white if I put it literally right here. That day, 3, maybe 4 weeks into care, I hit the button, it turned bright green, I dropped it, and literally stopped breathing. I was just shocked. I collected my thoughts, I looked up and looked around the room, and there was color. I stepped outside, looked up and down the main street of our town, which had just been this ghostly gray and white. Although not full depth, full warmth, vibrancy of color, all the shades were there. The sky was blue. As time continued to go on, I was able to recognize people more. I was able to cut my own fingernails because I could actually see them. That was a real milestone day. I was in for other purposes at the Healing Center one day, and somebody had dropped a needle on the floor, and I was a good ways into the program, many months by then, and I held it up and I could actually see the eye. It was blurry and it was moving, but it was there. Along the way, I've had all these little milestones, these moments of aha that just left me breathless and wordless. When I would go to the fridge at first, it was a real mystery. I had to find my food by touch, really couldn't see what I was eating. I'd bring a tub of something to my wife and she'd tell me what it was, and I'd try to get it plated and eat it. Couldn't see it to cut it. It was really a challenging time. At one point, finally got to the point, love fresh berries, where I could tell the blackberries from the blueberries. Barely, but I could tell without touching them. And then one day, I could really see it pretty clearly, but I still couldn't tell if they're bad. We all know about berries, right? They get mold in them. We end up throwing out more than we eat. I always had to bring them back to my wife. Hey, are these okay to eat? So this was now probably 6, 7 months into the treatment. Went to the fridge, spotted the blueberries through the container. That was another small milestone. Opened it up, and that day I saw the exact detail of blueberries. That little split leaves of the bud, that mottled color that we all know that's a blueberry. And in between a group of berries, about a 1/16 of an inch across, was this little diamond shape of fuzz, mold between the berries. About the smallest mold anybody would be expected to see. And I could see it. You can talk to Denise. I sent her a picture of that moment. Moving forward, I can read wonderfully. I can read subtitles on the TV. The cane's been gone for a very long time. I now live a very normal life, and according to Western medicine, this could not happen to this eye that was bad for 20 years. Along the way, this eye, which got worse than this one ever did, got so bad that it was literally a black hole. Early on, I went to my conventional medicine doctor, test where my eyes are at. They tested my left, and it kept improving and improving. But for a while there, they'd ask me what I saw in the right eye, and I would tell them I couldn't see the wall, let alone the chart. 20 years in the left eye, no change, lots of testing, absolutely the same. AcuEnergetics, incredible ability to see with detail, live a normal life. Nobody even notices I have any kind of a problem. The right eye, if I close this one right now, I have very good peripheral vision here, full color everywhere, and I'm starting to be able to recognize faces with this eye. I have no doubt, as the improvement has been ever steady, moving towards the center, that an eventual goal of 20/20 in both eyes will be where I end up. I can't begin to describe how life-changing this has been for me. Literally, I was functionally blind and pretty hopeless about what the rest of my life was going to be like, and now I truly see. What's made it incredibly poignant for me is that during this time, actually, when the second eye was going bad, I was visiting my son with our first grandchild and literally thought I would never clearly see his face again. And that's where I was at. Since then, I now have 3 more grandchildren, and just very recently had them all in our home and got to enjoy their company, and I can see their beautiful sparkling eyes and lovely smiles and every detail of their faces and their hair, things I never expected to see. So if you're wondering about AccuEnergetics, don't wonder. It works. It works.